Hey friend, welcome to the Self-Care Isn't Selfish podcast. I'm your host, Emily Nichols. As a Whole30 certified coach, wife, busy working boy mom, and your self-care guru, I'm here to help you start putting yourself first without the guilt. Each week you'll hear motivating and practical tips on how you can create a habit of self-care through interviews with my amazing guests or quick solo episodes with me. After each episode, you'll walk away with an action plan and feel empowered to implement what you have learned into your life. So grab a cup of coffee, glass of wine, or your favorite sparkling water, and let's do this. This is episode 2 of the Self-Care Isn't Selfish podcast with me, your host, Emily Nichols. My guest today is Jen Elliott of Jen Elliott Wellness. Guys, I loved our conversation together. Jen is a fitness and mindset coach here in the Indianapolis area, and she's just super inspiring. I love following along with her on her Instagram story. She's just always speaks the truth and is just so motivational and inspirational. And we get into a lot about mindset and the connection with your mind when it comes to fitness, even making friends and nutrition, and just how all of that goes together. Jen and I are hosting an event together on Sunday, August 25th from 12 to 2. It's at Urban Vines in Westfield, Indiana. I will link it in our show notes, but it's called the Love Yourself. Yes, Love Yourself Self-Care Series. And this is an event we're going to be having ongoing throughout the year, speaking on all areas of self-care and connecting with other women here in the Indianapolis area. So make sure you go to the show notes and get tickets. We'll dig into the event a little bit more in our interview, but stay tuned until the end. I will always share my 3 biggest takeaways. So if you have something tangible you can take with you to start incorporating into your self-care routine today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Jen Elliott. Okay, guys, I have Jen Elliott here of Jen Elliott Wellness. I'm so excited for her to speak to you guys today. She is a mindset and fitness coach and just a wonderful person. We have some things coming up later next month together that we're going to talk about, but I want to give Jen a chance to introduce herself to you guys and talk a little bit more about what she does. So Jen, welcome to the Self-Care Isn't Selfish podcast.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I absolutely love the title. I'm all about self-care, so I'm so pumped to be here. So pumped to be here. I am, like Emily said, a fitness and mindset coach, and I work with women to help them ditch extremes, to respect their body and still see results and find this version of balance that fits their life. So I do that mostly through one-on-one coaching programs, a little bit of personal training on the side as well. And I absolutely love what I do. And self-care is a lot of what I talk about with my clients as well and help them create their own kind of self-care routine.
Awesome. So I'm going to start every podcast. You're my first guest. So, hey.
Oh, yay. Yay.
So I'm going to start every podcast just by asking our guests, and you are my first one. What does self-care mean to you?
Excellent question. And I've thought about this a little bit, and I will sum it up to say self-care to me is believing that you are just as worthy of being taken care of as all of the other people and other things in your life. And it's saying, look, I realize that I have to be functioning at my best to be able to give my best to other people. And sometimes that might mean taking a little bit of extra time just for myself. And I know that's okay.
I love it. Being worthy of that and being your best self. That's awesome. Well, like I mentioned, you're a mindset and fitness coach. And how do you feel like those two things align with each other?
Oh, they align so well.
Right.
So when I first started coaching, I did pretty much just fitness. I did a lot of personal training, did some group fitness classes and whatnot. And the more that I worked with people and the more that I kind of worked through my own fitness journey, I found that, somebody could say, lift these, 15, 20 pound dumbbells. But if I don't believe, or if my clients don't believe that they are strong enough to do that, they're not going to be able to do it. And I have found that bringing in a mindset component of, okay, who do you believe you are? Do you believe that you can crush these goals? Do you believe that you have what it takes to make it happen? It's been such an important part. And I've seen so much growth in my clients just from being able to work on that mindset portion of things and incorporate that into not only fitness, into nutrition, and into self-care as well. So I feel like you can't have one without the other almost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, a lot of times when I teach my classes like a cycle bar, I'm always telling them, hey, most of this is a internal battle more so than physical. And I think a lot of times we have our own self-limiting beliefs. Like you said, someone will be like, oh, lift this heavy thing. And like, can you believe you're strong enough or trained to get that strong? So how do you help your clients overcome having those self-limiting beliefs? Because we all have them.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we definitely do. So in a couple of different ways. So one thing that I do, especially with my 12-week coaching clients, is to actually have them write out what their limiting beliefs are. Because usually when we write them out, we see them and we say, okay, like that's silly for me to think that because I've done this X, Y, whatever it might be before. And then once we've written out that limiting belief, then we go through and write out a couple of truths. And any time that negative belief comes up, that's going to be their trigger to say, let me say this positive, this truth instead. And then with teaching classes or even doing one-on-one personal training, a lot of it is I can tell at this point in the game when my client can lift a heavier weight or when somebody in my class can lift a heavier or push a little bit more. And a lot of times I will just say, why don't you try it? You never know if you're going to be able to do it until you try it. The worst that can happen is it doesn't work out and you have to drop down or you have to stop. Then okay, this is where I stopped. This is the weight that I used. So that next time we come back to this, you say, okay, this is what I was able to do last time. How can I push this a little bit further? Maybe go a couple more reps or go a little bit longer this time. And also I think a lot of it too is being a coach is being able to confirm with them that yes, you can lift heavier. Yes, you can push more. Because I know in my past work with clients when I was working at a big gym, a lot of them had been thinking through, maybe I can push a little bit more. Maybe I can go a little bit heavier. But when I was able to come alongside them and say, yes, I believe in you as well. I know you can do this. Then it helped them kind of move forward. So just having that second person to say, yeah, you got this, I think really helps a lot too.
I love that. I love writing down those self-limiting beliefs, but having a trigger and starting a new habit and replacing it with what is true. Gosh, that's a game changer. And you got to think of it this way. The way we talk to ourselves sometimes, we would never talk to a loved one that way. Never, ever, ever. And I love the idea of having, someone else in your corner to be like, hey, I believe in you. And, not only just a coach like what you and I do, but also just a spouse or a friend or even an internet friend, someone your Instagram friends now. So how would you go about seeking out someone like that? Because I know just as females, sometimes it's hard to make new friends. Sometimes it's hard to find people that are just the same vibe as you know what I'm saying? And finding people that have similar interests to you where you can have your own accountability partner. So, obviously seeking out someone like you is amazing, having a coach in your corner, but how would you suggest a woman seek out another accountability partner as well?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's such a wonderful question. I would say the first step is figuring out what kind of accountability you need and what will be helpful to you, because there's some people who are going to be more tough love and, get on you for not staying on top of things. And there's going to be people who say, oh, it's okay, whatever. So kind of have that like in the back of your mind of like, this is the type of accountability that I would need. And this is the type of person that I would love to partner with, right? Because it isn't necessarily just like, I need someone else for me. Like, how can you be, an accountability and a support to someone else as well? And then if you are like a part of a gym or go to classes at a gym regularly, I would just kind of be observant, not to be like creeper status, but like you can observe people and say, oh my gosh, like every time she is on that bike, like she is pushing it no matter what. Like I would love to chat with her and just say, I see you doing awesome things. Like, could we go grab coffee and just start the conversation that way?
Absolutely.
I would say on Instagram as well. Like I definitely have met so many awesome women through Instagram, either here or throughout the United States, that have become great, great friends. And it's just from, I saw something in their stories and I responded to it and then we started a conversation, or I'm consistently commenting on their posts because I love what they're doing. And then we start a conversation that way and kind of build a friendship too. So I guess the biggest takeaway would be to not be afraid to say, hey, can we go grab coffee, or can we grab wine, or can we chat, or something like that?
Absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I decided I wanted to start running because it's not one of my favorite things to do. And I know just this week you were posting about running.
Yes.
That was just something you felt like you needed in your self-care this week. And, everyone's self-care is so different. But I think a big part of self-care is having that connection with other people. I think, everything's so driven via the internet now and social media. And it's so great to have connection with people. And I'm sure this rings true for you. It fills up my soul to have connections with other women and finding out those people. So I started running a couple years ago. I knew a couple ladies in the group and I started running with them. And I really started liking to run because it was challenging my mind and my body, something that I didn't think I really liked doing. Still not my favorite. Let's be honest here. But I've made a great group of friends who had similar interests as me. They had such a positive mindset and it just totally filled my cup. So like you said, don't be afraid to step out there and just be like, hey girl.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And I think too, also knowing like, are you somebody who wants a group or are you somebody that wants more one-on-one? Because I definitely love getting together with groups of women, but I definitely feel like I get that energy and like thrive when I'm just doing like a one-on-one with someone too. So really just self-care in general too is just being like self-aware. And so just get to know yourself a little bit and figure out what kind of support is going to work for you.
Now, you mentioned, like if you like see someone at the gym or whatnot, what would you say to someone that wants to try a new fitness routine or a gym because you're like, ooh, I'm working out on my own at home. I'm running, doing this or that. I'd like to go meet some other people. How would you suggest someone finding a new fitness routine, either a gym or doing something and stepping out their comfort zone in that way as well?
Yeah, that's such an excellent question. I feel like, again, it comes back to, are you looking for a group or are you looking for a little bit more individual where maybe I can go in and take classes and kind of, move in and out of my own pace? But I would say take any suggestions from friends. Because I think a lot of people, at least a lot of people that I'm friends with on Facebook will post about the different gyms or classes that they go to. And so I think that would be a great place to start if you have a friend or coworker or just an acquaintance that says, hey, I work out at this gym and I think that you would really like it. Try it out. And when you try something out, I would go into it with an open mind. You're probably going to feel a little bit silly. You're probably going to look a little bit silly. You're probably going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. And some people know within the first time of going to a class that it's not going to be for them. Other people just have that, oh my gosh, I'm brand new, I feel totally awkward moment, but then they kind of warm up and then they start to enjoy it as well. So I would say just be prepared to feel a little bit silly. And then I would also say look for whatever place you go to, the instructor should, as an instructor myself, I always try to look for new people coming into class. And the instructor should make you feel welcome, at least like say hello to you, ask your name, ask like if there's any injuries or anything that they need to be aware of. I have found, even just being a participant, that I'm much more likely to stick with a class if the instructor at least acknowledges me and acknowledges that I'm new, as opposed to a place where I can just walk in and out without anybody noticing.
Another thing, like you said, don't be afraid to go in, but also if you go in and you're like, this is not for me. I don't like this class. I don't like this format. To be like, just not throw your hands in there and say, well, just forget it. I just, I can't go to a gym. Like try something else. Group fitness is not for everybody. Personal training is not for everybody. All the boutique fitness going on right now, that's not for everybody. You have to find what works for you.
Oh, so true. And I would even make almost a list, like whether you write it down or just kind of have it, in your brain. These are the type of things I want to try. And just try out a lot of new things. Because for me, I remember I took a bar class at one point a couple of years ago, and that was just that was not me, like at least at the time. Like I was not good with endurance things. I really wanted like high intensity stuff. And so at least I went and I experienced it. And then I knew like, okay, this is not the type of class that at this point in my life that I'm interested in doing. What is something else that's more similar to the things that I like that I could try out?
How's that saying go? Oh yeah, all things are possible with coffee and mascara. Well, that's certainly true for me, and I love to have my coffee every morning after my workout, and I don't really leave the house without mascara. So my fellow blondies, I know you feel me on this. But gang, check it out. Having my coffee every morning is part of my self-care routine, and I always take my coffee blended with nut pods and coconut oil. So Nut Pods is a dairy-free creamer. It's made from a blend of almond butter and coconut cream. I love the French vanilla flavor. It's my favorite. It's super yummy, super smooth, but even better, it's Whole30 approved. So gang, head on over to nutpods.com and use the code EmilyNichols22 to get 15% off your first order of Nut Pods. That's EmilyNichols22, EmilyNichols22. And let me know once you receive your Nut Pods what your favorite flavor is and how you take your coffee. So remember, just head on over to nutpods.com. I love the way this conversation is going because, with starting off talking about mindset and then connection and fitness, it all just intertwines together. And like you said, just really just stepping out of your comfort zone and not being afraid. And, I think another area I'd really like to focus on with you, because you talk about it a lot on social media. And I think it's really important to address, because I think it's another important part of self-care is how you are feeling your body. So you talk a lot about intuitive eating and food freedom, and you're speaking my language because, when I go through a Whole30 with my clients, the whole point is to let them decide what their food freedom looks like from there, not to keep restricting from there on out. So can you speak on intuitive eating a little bit more? I think that's like a really hot topic right now. It's a word a lot of people are using, and some people may not be aware what that means.
Yeah, for sure. So intuitive eating, the way I describe it is it's a framework for helping you better understand and have a better relationship with food and with your body. So I have met, I can't probably not even enough to count on my hand the number of women who have not come from a past of diets or restriction or disordered eating. And intuitive eating gives an alternative to that. It's not a diet. It is not I'm giving myself, I'm going to eat whatever I want to all the time because this is intuitive eating. It really helps you look at, where do your beliefs about food come from? Who told you those beliefs or those truths or maybe lies that you have made truths? It helps you connect to your hunger and fullness cues. It helps you identify any foods that in your mind are labeled as bad for whatever reason, and helps you identify, kind of just take any labels out of food to say, look, it's okay if I want to have a donut. It's okay if I want to have a salad. It's a way to kind of help you listen to your body and then understand how to give your body what it needs, and really just kind of getting rid of any diet culture, anything that says I need to restrict, I need to diet.
Eating is so emotional. Food is so emotional for people. And, I'm 37. I grew up in a time where fat was bad. You had to have fat free, or you would have SnackWells or the little microwave Lean Cuisines or Weight Watchers Smart Ones. And I remember watching my mom do Weight Watchers and go work out, and even doing Jane Fonda tapes. I still remember some of the words.
Yes.
And we grew up certain foods are good or bad. And that's not the case. Food is not good or bad. It does not have a personality. It's not, it either fuels your body, or that food is not for you because maybe it disagrees with you gut wise or skin wise or whatever. And I think people are just so quick to be like, oh, you can't eat chocolate chip cookies because it's bad for you. It's like, well, today chocolate chip cookies are worth it to me, and I'm not going to emotionally eat and eat a whole sleeve of chocolate chip cookies, but I'm going to have 3 and enjoy them. And not feel 1 ounce of guilt about it. And I think that's something where your mindset has to come into play, like you were saying, and also just it's a habit you have to form over time. Just when you have those self-limiting beliefs, like you talked about earlier, replacing them with new truths.
Oh yeah. The more that we're talking, I think it's a lot easier to read an article or hear something from a friend that says, oh, eating pasta is bad. And then you think to yourself, okay, well then I just won't eat that because it's bad. It's a lot easier to hold on to these different food rules than it is to actually take a deep dive into saying, okay, is pasta really bad? Who said that? What does it mean that pasta is bad? Do I even like pasta? What happens if I eat pasta? Because this mindset work, it's not easy. It's not easy to say. I'm even thinking back to when I would eat just all the ice cream because I would restrict it for so long. And then I like couldn't handle it anymore. And I would eat a pint and then that would just turn into everything else. And it was way easier to say, oh, I'm not going to eat ice cream than it was to say like, why are you restricting ice cream? Like, why do you think this is so bad? Like, what do you think is going to happen if you have, and to actually like do that internal work, that's a lot more difficult. And it takes a lot more time than saying, okay, I'll just be done with ice cream and cookies. I'll be good.
And it's a constant journey. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's a vicious cycle because, you eat the whole pint of ice cream and then you feel guilty that you ate the whole pint of ice cream. So then you eat like crap the rest of the weekend because you're like, oh, forget it. My diet's blown. So let's just, eliminate diet. I love intuitive eating and food freedom. And like you said, the mindset that comes with that, that's just something that happens over time and is a constant journey.
Yeah, it definitely takes some time, but I think it is so worth. I mean, for me, like finally finding intuitive eating was literally just life-changing for me. And the way that I've seen clients that go through the intuitive eating process or some of the principles, how their mindset is changed in radical ways and how it even spills over into the fitness, how it spills over into self-care, how it spills over into all these other areas, not just nutrition.
Absolutely. Well, like you just said, when you find that, not necessarily the balance, what you find is healthy for you. And when you feel healthy because, your mind's right, you're moving your body, you're eating to fuel yourself, that just spills into so many other areas of your life. And then you want to be healthier in other areas of your life as well. So that kind of leads me to a fun event Jen and I are hosting together in August. Jen, do you want to tell them about it?
Yes, I would love to. So Emily and I have been chatting, I want to say it was earlier this year, about doing something related to self-care since it's such a big topic and such an important thing for both of us. And we decided to do a series of self-care events around the Indy area. And so the vision for all of these events is to gather women together to have a specific topic related to self-care. So we know that self-care is not just bubble baths and face masks. Like it's all kinds of areas like style, finances, food, nutrition and fitness and all of that. And so there's going to be a theme each time we do one of these sessions. And we just want to have an honest conversation about it. So our very first event is going to be the kickoff where Emily and I are going to be chatting about our own self-care routines and why it's so important to us. And then we're actually going to be giving all the ladies that come a self-care checklist and giving them some different tips and resources on how to start creating a self-care routine that actually fits their life. And it's going to be at Urban Vines Winery. So we're going to have some wine and just chill and relax. And it's going to be a super fun event. And I can't wait.
Oh my gosh. So it's Sunday, August 25th, 12 to 2. And I'll put a link in the show notes so you guys can click on it and invite a girlfriend to come. It's here in the Indianapolis area. And Jen and I's vision for this, like she said, is to be able to focus on so many different areas of self-care and also going back to that connection piece, connecting with other women, meeting new women in the area. So this is going to be an ongoing series we're going to be doing. We're starting off in the Westfield area, but we're going to be doing it all around central Indianapolis. So if you can't make it up that day, we'll have it on a different day coming up soon, but keep it tuned to find out more about that. But get your ticket because we don't have too many spots available. And we want to make sure that you and your girlfriend can come and meet Jen and I and meet some other wonderful women who are interested in self-care. So Jen, it has been amazing, as always, talking with you. Can you tell them a little bit about the services that you offer and where everyone can find you?
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yay for being the first guest. How exciting. So what I do, what I love doing is I have a 12-week coaching program for women that are really ready to ditch the extremes when it comes to fitness and nutrition and to find a version of balance that fits their life and to also work on creating a better relationship with food, exercise, and self-care. So ties right along with what we've been talking about today on how to kind of create a self-care routine and intuitive eating and finding fitness that works for you. So that is what I'm doing right now. And you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and my website at jenelliottwellness.com.
Awesome. Jen, you are amazing. You're such a bright light, and I always love talking with you. And I can't wait to meet some of my listeners at our event. Oh my gosh, we didn't tell them what it was called.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
You guys, it's called the Love Yourself Self-Care Series.
Yes.
Hope to see you guys there. So Jen, thanks again, girl.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
You guys, wasn't Jen amazing? So many good nuggets of wisdom, all in regards to self-care. But as always, I'm going to share my 3 biggest takeaways with you, so you have some action plans today to start implementing into your self-care right away. So number 1 is to write down your self-limiting beliefs. Actually physically write them down, but then replace them with actual positive truths about yourself instead. You're going to be starting a new habit by doing that and replacing that negative self-talk with positive self-talk. Like we mentioned, you would never talk to a friend or a loved one the way you talk to yourself in your head. So you got to change that script. And by doing the actual act of writing it down is really going to help reinforce that. Number 2 is to find connection, which I know we talked about is kind of hard as women sometimes, to put yourself out there in uncomfortable spots sometimes to be like, oh, hey, girl, and then not feel like a complete dork. So trust me, I've been there, just speaking from experience, but we thrive connection and community. So put yourself out there, be self-aware of the things that interest you, and go seek out those friendships and be positive sometimes, or be patient and positive. Sometimes it takes time. And lastly, the 3rd biggest takeaway was just the mindset connection between fitness and nutrition. So if you are always thinking, oh, I'm not strong enough, I can never do, that much weight, or to think, oh, I could never run that far, guess what? You're absolutely right. But if you're saying, I'm strong, I can try to lift that, I can lift that, you will. Or if you're saying, I could never run that far, and then replace it with, I am going to run that far, I'm going to train and get there, you will get there. As far as the intuitive eating goes, that goes back to mindset as well. Like we talked about, food is neither good or bad. It's just our emotions tied with it. And replacing those good and bad feelings with good habits instead of thinking, okay, is this worth it to me? And how is this going to fuel my body versus this is good or bad, or having that emotional tie to it. So remember, I'll always have takeaways for you at the end of the podcast so you are able to implement self-care into your routine right away. Don't forget, like I mentioned, we are hosting our first ever Love Yourself Self-Care Series. Jen and I are on Sunday, August 25th from 12 to 2. It's at Urban Vines in Westfield. We'll include a link in the show notes so you can get tickets and bring a gal pal and hang out and just talk all things self-care. We'll be hosting various self-care events around the central Indianapolis area. A lot of different themes into self-care, not just self-care in general, but we'll be talking finances, relationships, fitness, nutrition, organization, creativity, style, all things self-care. I could go on and on and on. So make sure you grab your tickets today. And Jen and I hope to meet you in person on Sunday, August 25th. Gang, thanks again for listening. I so appreciate you and so grateful for you, and hope this is inspiring to you to live out your best life and become the best version of you. Fill your cup up first so you can help be there for others as well. If you would be so kind, head over to iTunes and leave me a review there. It helps make it easier for other people to find the podcast and listen and be inspired as well. And take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast today. Tag me on Instagram at Emily Nichols 22 and at Self-Care Isn't Selfish Podcast. So until next week, gang, remember, self-care isn't selfish.